Hey, let's get a divorce.
My husband said shortly after my father-in-law, who used to be the CEO of his company, passed away after years of caregiving. Divorce? He couldn't hide his happiness.
Yeah, divorce. Now that my dad's gone, you're pretty much useless.
Useless. So I was just a caregiver to you, huh?
You got that right. Otherwise, who would want to be with an old lady like you?
Fine. I understand. Let's get a divorce. He handed me a copy of the divorce petition with a smug smile, and I sat there silently, staring at it. Please give me some time to respond. He raised his eyebrows, but nodded in agreement. Are you in such a good mood because of your father's inheritance?
Oh, you were thinking about it too, huh? Of course. I'm inheriting 3 million and taking over as a CEO. You are just in my way if I want to enjoy my life.
I clenched my fist in anger at that moment. After over 30 years together, he had the nerve to mistreat me as he pleased. I no longer had any love left for him, and immediately left the house. He would soon be battered by the consequences of his action. I'm Penny Macmillan, a 55-year-old housewife. My husband is Calvin Macmillan, 2 years my senior. We met when we were young, introduced by a mutual friend. He was working at his father's company. My father-in-law, William, was a strict but kind self-made millionaire who built his company from scratch. When I first met him before the wedding, he said to me with a warm smile,
Don't be so nervous. From now on, you're a part of our family.
My easygoing mother-in-law was also delighted with our marriage. I'm so happy for my son to have found such a wonderful girl. I'm excited to have you as my daughter-in-law. I was grateful to have such wonderful in-laws. We have a daughter named Madeline. She was an adorable and bright child who often told me how much she loved me. The five of us lived together, leading a happy life. Time passed, and Calvin and I found ourselves in our 50s. Madeline had married a wonderful man and started her own family. A few years ago, my mother-in-law passed away due to illness, and she couldn't make it to Madeline's wedding. They were very close, and she had loved her dearly. Before she passed away, she held my hand and said, My dear, please take care of William from now on. Nancy, because of all the kindness you've shown me, I can go in peace. Thank you. Then she peacefully took her last breath. She had been a loving person until the end. After she was gone and Madeline moved out, it was just the three of us living together. My in-laws had been a loving couple, so William seemed down for a while after her passing. I tried to do my best to cheer him up and take him out of the house. On the other hand, Calvin was completely hands-off during that time. He threw everything in regard to household to me and didn't even help his own father in any way. He had never been involved in Madeline's upbringing either. He was either out for work, drinking with his colleagues, or playing golf. I believe my in-laws were also disappointed in him. Given our long marriage, I understood his tendency to avoid responsibilities, so I didn't have high expectations. After Madeline moved out, I was thinking of finding some hobbies for myself. Then William collapsed at his workplace, suffering a severe stroke. He was in critical condition, but thankfully he survived. However, he was left paralyzed, almost completely bedridden. Calvin, honey, what are we going to do now? I asked him on the way back from visiting William at the hospital.
What do you mean? Obviously, you will be taking care of him at home.
What? But I don't have any knowledge about caregiving, and I don't feel confident.
Then learn it quickly. You're going to take good care of him.
I could only nod in response. I resolved to do it with all my heart, especially because William had always treated me well. And so began my unfamiliar caregiving routine. I tried to do everything I could, but tasks like bathing were challenging. When I turned to Calvin for help, he said,
How would I know? Don't rely on me. Figure it out yourself.
Frustrated, I turned to Madeline for advice. She introduced me to an acquaintance who worked as a care manager, and I managed to get some assistance from Madeline. William could only communicate by typing on the tablet, and always conveyed his gratitude to me. I felt that I could endure the unfamiliar caregiving as long as it was for his sake. While I worked tirelessly, Calvin seemed to be out having fun. He was always absent, claimed to work overtime on weekdays and working on weekends, never showing his face to William. Unable to bear this situation any longer, I spoke to him frankly. Honey, can't you help with taking care of your dad?
Jeez, why should I?
He furrowed his brows. Because you guys are family. You're his only son, you know. How about holding his hand and talking to him once in a while? He laughed it off.
What's the point? It's useless.
Useless?
Yeah, he can't even move or talk freely, which means he's worthless. You don't have to put so much effort into caregiving. It's not like we want him to live longer.
Do you even know what you're saying?
Of course I do. I'm tired, so don't bother me anymore.
He stormed off to the bedroom in such a rough manner. I could smell a strange scent of perfume on him. After that, he became even colder toward me. One day, I had prepared dinner for him, but when he returned home and saw it, he dismissed it with a glance.
What's with this disgusting-looking food?
I made your favorite.
Your food is tasteless. I'm not gonna eat it.
Then, he grabbed the plate and dumped its contents into the trash. What on earth?
Don't prepare dinner for me anymore. I'm tired of looking at your unpleasant face.
I watched his back in shock as he walked away. Since William collapsed, not only had he not helped with caregiving, but his attitude had been getting worse. I started having some doubts. On another day, he complained that I didn't clean the house properly. Even though I did as usual, he nitpicked and criticized me for a single hair on the floor. I held back tears and endured his sarcasm. Eventually, the bell rang from William's room. Wiping away my tears, I went to his room, where he communicated with me through writing.
I'm so sorry for the way he's treating you.
As I tried to reassure him, he took his time to communicate something to me. I was stunned by the contents, but agreed to help him. Within a few months, he had a relapse of his brain hemorrhage and quietly passed away. I rushed to the hospital with Madeline, and we cried together. Even at that moment, Kelvin didn't show up. After William's funeral, he called me to the living room. When I came in, he was lounging on the couch with a smirk on his face. What do you want to talk about? Without saying a word, he showed me a copy of divorce petition with a grin.
Penny, let's get a divorce.
Divorce? He replied with an expression that couldn't hide his happiness.
Yeah, now that my dad's gone, you're pretty much useless.
Useless? So I was just a caregiver to you?
You got that right. Who'd want to be with an old lady like you?
Fine. I understand. Let's get a divorce.
You're pretty agreeable. That's a relief.
He handed me the copy with a smug smile, and I sat there silently, staring at it. Please give me some time to respond. He raised his eyebrows, but nodded in agreement. Are you in such a good mood? Because of your father's inheritance?
Oh, you were thinking about it too, huh? Damn right. A few months ago, I checked his bank account and saw $3 million in there. On top of that, I'm taking over as a CEO. You're just in my way if I want to enjoy my life.
I clenched my fist in anger at that moment. After over 30 years together, he had the nerve to mistreat me as he pleased. I no longer had any love left for him. I wanted to let my anger loose and speak out, but I held myself back and remained calm. Well, good for you. As for the property division, I will contact you through a lawyer.
What property division? I'm not giving you anything.
I have the right to receive half of the $20,000 in our shared savings. We can fight it out with lawyers if you want, but you won't stand a chance.
You got some unnecessary wisdom, you know. Whatever. I have $3 million in the company. I will give you that much, considering you're a miserable woman with no career or future.
He spat out and made a dismissive gesture with his hand. I got up and packed my belongings, and then left the house where I had lived for over 30 years. When I explained the situation to Madeline, she was enraged. She even invited me to stay with her, but I declined. Instead, I rented a one-bedroom apartment on my own. Calvin sent me a check for $100,000 as part of the property division. For the next 2 weeks, I lived peacefully on my own. One day, while having coffee with Madeline, my phone rang. The caller was Calvin. Hello, what is it?
You! Where the heck are you? You better come over right now. We need to talk.
He shouted so loudly that I thought it might break the phone. When I signaled to Madeline, she nodded. Okay, I will come over with Madeline now. And so, we headed to the house we used to live in. When we got there, he was standing with his arms crossed in the living room. What's the matter? Calling me over out of the blue. You said I was useless and didn't need me anymore. I calmly told him, to which he shouted back.
What do you think you're doing? Demanding alimony from me?
He thrust some documents at me, which had been sent by my lawyer. It's all written right there. I'm just claiming alimony for your infidelity. In fact, I had hired someone to investigate him a little before William passed away. The result was damning. There were plenty of photos of him entering hotels with women younger than Madeline.
I never cheated on you.
I already have the evidence. Besides, I've heard you've been telling people that you would ditch the old wife and replace me with a young and cute one. You apparently boasted how lucky you were, right? He choked, his face turning bright red as he struggled with his words. I maintained a smile and continued. An alimony of $30,000 for your infidelity should be a breeze for someone like you, who receives $3 million in the company. Pay it up without complaint. Then you go ahead and have a good time with your young bride after that.
Well...
As his face grew paler, Madeline couldn't hold back her laughter any longer.
Madeline, how dare you laugh at your father?
Oh, please, I don't consider you my father anymore. But seriously, tell us about the inheritance. You did get $3 million, right? He mumbled something unintelligible. Huh? I can't hear you. My question caused him to turn beet red.
It was gone. For some reason, there was hardly any money left.
He yelled desperately. I had to hold back my laughter. Of course it was gone.
Huh?
He looked puzzled, and I continued. Before William passed away, he decided to give both me and Madeline some, and the remaining money was donated.
What the heck?
At the time when I was in tears from being criticized by Calvin, he informed me about this matter.
Penny, I've long given up on Calvin. Leaving him an inheritance would only lead to trouble. But I want to ensure that you and Madeline are taken care of. Please accept it as a gift from me.
Already knowing about Calvin's infidelity by that time, I graciously accepted the offer. Madeline did the same, and I received $1 million, while she got $50,000. After completing all the procedures, he donated the remaining to various charities. I assisted with that as well, but Calvin knew nothing about it.
Charities? And you guys receive a fortune.
Calvin was white as a ghost. Yes, we accept it as a gesture of your father's kindness. It will ensure we don't face financial difficulties in the future. Madeline chimed in. After all, Mom supported the household until the end, and took care of Grandpa's caregiving. It's only natural, right? He started trembling nervously. What's wrong? It's nothing even if you didn't receive 3 million. You inherited the company, didn't you?
I didn't.
Oh my.
It had already been transferred to one of the shareholders. Not only that, I got fired. They said something about my attitude toward work.
I had to suppress a laugh. Oh, right. I heard that from the employees. You were strutting around, boasting that you were the next CEO. But you hardly did any work and just harassed your colleagues. Such a person is naturally let go under the new management. You really are terrible. I despise you. He began to tear up and pitifully confessed in a trembling voice.
My girlfriend left me as soon as she found out I had no money.
Madeline casually remarked. Well, it seems there's nothing appealing about you except money. If you don't have that, you're just useless.
Jeez, you're so cold to your own father.
He started pleading with me as the tears rolled down on his face.
Penny, I'm really sorry. It's all my fault. Forget about alimony and please come back to me. Madeline, you too. Let's start over as a family of 3.
I coldly replied to such a proposition. Not in a million years. You and I are done. Facing the despondent Calvin, I told him, You're no longer of any use to us. Just pay the alimony and never show your face in front of us again.
But
without paying him any more attention, we briskly walked away. I soon received the alimony from him. According to information from someone close to him, he had almost entirely squandered the remaining 100,000 from the property division on his affair, and had even accumulated debt. Chased by debt collectors, he finally managed to sell off the only property he had inherited, our former family home, to gather enough money. Left with an empty bank account, he lost his family, his home, and his job all at once. Now, he is barely getting by in a rundown apartment, making ends meet with daily labor jobs. Even after hearing his plight, I feel no sympathy for him. Madeline also has no intention of getting involved anymore. As for me, I am leading a comfortable life. Recently, I received the joyous news of Madeline's pregnancy. She and her husband proposed building a new house to live together, and I decided to chip into the project. Currently, the construction is underway. I look forward to cherishing my grandchild and living happily ever after with them.